Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF. Bava Kamma DAF Tzaddik Gimel, we are holding two lines off the top of the Amud. This is the last of these commonly promoted wisdoms for which we are looking for a Torah source to substantiate. Amalei Rava LeRabba Bamori Mana Milsa Damri Inchi. Can we find a source for the following saying? Ba Sar Mori Nichsi. Person's a wealthy asset owner, Mori Nichsi, a wealthy man. So success follows this man. Sivi literally means a strand of fat. Mashach gets drawn after him. Basically, associating with a wealthy man can sometimes result in the person who associates with him benefiting from that association. So sort of the mazel, the good fortune of this fellow rubs off on those that hang out with him. How do we know that? Amar Lei, so he responded with a source from Sefer Bereshis, involving Avram Avinu and Lot. T'chsiv v'gam l'Lot, ha'hoilechas Avram, ha'yatzoyin bokar v'oiholim. Lot as well became wealthy. Tzoyin bokar oiholim. Why? Because he was in good company. He spent his time with Avram, and therefore success rubbed off on him as well. Amar Rav Chana, one is meant to know that a person is persecuted by this fellow, and he turns around and he passes on the din to Hashem. Basically, Hashem, please punish this person. One should know that it's risky business. The person, the victim, who is now asking Hashem to punish his tormentor, the victim himself can be the one that will receive punishment first. And the reason being, Rashi in Meseches Rosh Hashanah explains, because in Shamayim, in heaven, they'll look at him and they'll say, look, are you really worthy of being, a vehicle, a medium, of causing the other person, your attacker, causing him punishment? Meaning, do you stand higher than that person? Are you more worthy than that person that you're asking that person to be punished? So although that person may get his punishment, but so will you, and this person will get first. It can sort of come through you to him. Not you, meaning this person. Shenemar, as the pasuk speaks by Sarai, where Avram took another wife, Hagar, who looked down and belittled Sarah Imenu. And Sarai, her name was Sarai at that point, and she complained to Avram. She said, Avram, Chamasi Alecha, my claim is on you, meaning I'm blaming what's going on to me, on you, and I'm holding you accountable. So basically she was implying that Hashem should look after that and settle this account, and ultimately she suffered first. Avram, right? Who died first? Sarah Imenu was niftar first. Avram, this by the sorrow of Kaisa. But one is meant to know that this is only applicable in a case where he has local recourse. The Ixlei Dina Ba'ari, he can go to the local Rav, local Bezdin, to look after it and to protect him from his tormentor. So in that case, he should choose that route before complaining to Hashem. And Taisus points out that Taisus says that in the time of Sarah and Avram, we had a Bezdin. Haya Bezdin shall Shem. Shem had a Bezdin, and they could have gone there. So instead of sending it to Shamayim for treatment, it should have been dealt with down here. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Oiloi, on the same vein, Oiloi l'tzoyik. Tzoyik is a person who calls out to Hashem and complains. Woe to him. Yoyser min nitzak. He's more at risk than the fellow that he's complaining about, as we explained before, because he's the one that's going to be scrutinized in Shamayim for expecting Hashem to punish his tormentor, which is reflective of his own personal opinion about himself, that he indeed is worthy of requesting such a request. So that invites scrutiny and can be dangerous. Says the Gemara, Tani Nami Hochi, we have the same in a Brayse. Rashi explains, it's a reference to the Pasuk in Shmois Chav Beis, V'chara api v'rakti eschem. So Hashem will express anger on both the tzayik and the nitzak, the victim and the perpetrator. Elo Hashem emarin l'tzayik yotzim and nitzak, but it comes quicker. The response arrives sooner to the tzayik, as we find in the case of Sarah. V'amar b'Yitzchak la'olam al tehei kilas hedyet. Oh, kala beinecha. One should never take lightly a klal, even coming from a curse expressed even by just a plain ordinary person. Don't take it lightly. Shana sharei, as we find, Avimelech kilel Sarah. Avimelech cursed Sarah, niskayim bezara, and it was fulfilled in her own descendants. Yitzchak Avinu, who was blind. Shanamar, hine yuloch ksuseinayim. Avimelech is speaking to Sarah. Amar, he tells her like this: Hoil v'kisis mimeni. You concealed your identity from me. V'lo gilis shu ishech, without divulging. You didn't tell me that this man Avram is your husband. You didn't tell me you're a married woman. V'garam, and as a result, I thought you were single. V'garam te'ilai hatzarazan. You caused me all this pain and this whole situation that I was punished by Hashem. You caused it. Hiratzin, he used the word hiratzin. Sheyu lach b'nei k'suye naim. So your descendants should be blinded. You blinded me, they should be blinded. V'naskayim bezara, and in fact this was applied to her descendants, Yitzchak Avinu, who experienced blindness in his old age. Person should always seek to be from the persecuted ones, and not from the ones that persecute others. So when a person finds himself near death, being attacked by others, take it in stride, it can only do you good. The most downtrodden, meek of birds are the Torah and the Bnei Yaina. Bnei Yaina are the doves, and the Torah are a different type of bird. And these are the only ones that are kasha for Mizbeach. You can't use a chicken, you can't use a rooster, you can't use a turkey for a carbon. Only Torah and Bnei Yaina, because they are the nerdafim, they are the weak and small birds. That gives them the schus to be used as a carbon to Hashem. Okay, back to the Mishnah. Haimer Sami is Eini V'chulu. We have two parts of the Mishnah. A person invites physical pain. He says, look, blind me, etc. The person follows, he's liable. The attacker has to pay. And even if the victim explicitly exempted him, do it or not, I won't take you to task, he's still chayav to pay. But when it comes to tearing his clothing, etc., monetary issues, if he clearly exempted him, then the attacker is patur. Why? What's the difference? Physical pain, physical injury, no exemption. But financial claims, that he could exempt him from. What's the difference between part A, personal injury, no exemptions there, and part B, where there are exemptions? Amar Lei, he says like this. We have a couple of terutzim coming up. Firstly, personal injuries, the person is not really meichel. And even if a person expresses it in this manner, I'm not going to come, he doesn't really mean it seriously, he's just, in a mood, he's just, speaking in jest or whatever. But when it comes to his clothing, etc., if he said it, he said it. Amar Lei. So he responded, so, Rosh Ivarim, right, which is a reference describing, any sort of, limb-related, injury, blinding, etc., right? So that you say he's not giving up on. What about tsar? Physical pain, getting slapped, etc., right? Is a person meichel on that? You would think not, right? And what do we find in a brisa? That you can exempt your attacker from that liability. The sanyo, hikani, tsa'ani, right? Hit me, wound me. Amaras lifte potter. On condition that you're potter, and the person follows through, he's potter. So according to your rationale, anything involving one's person is not to be taken seriously. This exemption is not really serious. Ishtik, so he was silenced. He didn't have an answer. Amar, so he responded, Midi shmelach bahad. Do you have anything? Did you hear anything about this? Like, could you offer an answer to this seeming contradiction? Amar Lisi says like this. Yeah, sure. Hachi Amar Rav Sheshes says like this. Being slapped, being hit, being injured in a manner which does not result in visible permanent damage, that a person could sometimes just forfeit, give up on. But in terms of Rosh Ivarim, something which is going to be permanently visible, that's different, said Rav Sheshes. Aside from his personal interest in maintaining his body in proper condition, there is something called Mishum Pgam Mishpacha. The family is embarrassed if one of their members is missing a hand, etc. So that he can't give up on. That he can't be moichel on. Because it involves more than himself, and therefore his mechila is not really effective. Itma Rabbi Yeshua Amar Mishum Pgam Mishpacha. Okay, so that was another Amoira on the same line. Rav Amar Mishum She'ena D'Moichel Rosh Ivarim Shaloi. He goes with the first teretz. When it comes to missing an aver, a person is not really serious when he says Ami Moichel you. So basically, it's a repetition of the two ritzim we said before. Right? The question was why in the Mishnah, when it comes to personal limbs, there's no mechila there. Two ritzim, that's too severe to be moichel, or it involves the family. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, let me give you a novel, simple teretz to the kasha. What's the difference between personal and financial? Yesh hein shu kalav, yesh lav shu kehin. At times, the word yes can really mean no. Depends how it's sung. If it's expressed in question mark form. Yes? Are you kidding? I'm not going to take you to Bezdin for that? Of course. So in that case, the word yes really means no. You're going to have to pay. And that's the case of the Mishnah. He invited this fellow's personal attack, remove my arm, injure me, right? And the fellow goes, well, you mean to say I'm going to do it, you're not going to take me to task, you're not going to demand payment? And the future victim says, yeah? Meaning, come on, are you kidding? You really think I'm not going to? Of course I will. This is serious, of course I'll take it to Bezdin. So in this case, he didn't really mean to exempt him. But in the next case, here, tear my beged. Really? You're not going to charge me for it? No. Meaning, of course I'm not going to charge you. Right? Meaning, the no, am I going to be potter? And the fellow says, no? Meaning, of course you're going to be potter. It's just my bag and I'm asking you to do it. Which Rashi says is typical. That's why the Mishnah picked this example by the guf and this example by the beggar. Typically, a person would be more willing to give up financial claims than physical claims. So, that's a simple teretz to the Mishnah. It's all a matter of how it was said and how it was expressed. Same in the Brisa. Here, hit me, injure me. The fellow confirms Almanas, lifter. Do you mean I'm going to be exempt? And he says, hey, yeah? You really think so? Meaning, of course not. Of course I'm going to charge you for it. Hare yeshen shu kalav. Here, yes means really no. On the other hand, kras ksusi. Here, tear my beged. Question. Almanas lifter. You mean I'm going to be exempt? And the fellow says, no, lav? I mean, yeah, of course. Hare lav shu kain. So the no really means yes. So we had a kasha. Why, by personal injury, do we say the person still has to pay, even though he was asked, he was invited to do it, and by like tearing a beged and things like that, person's potter. We had 3 terutzim. A person will never be meichel on personal injury. Number 2, pgam mishpacha. Number 3, really is no difference. It's just reflective of different forms of expression. Shaber is kadi kras ksusi chayev. Okay, so he tells him to break his pitcher, his garment. The fellow follows through, he has to pay unless he was specifically exempted, right? Viramini, we have a kasha from a brayso. The pasuk speaks about a fellow appointing a shemir, depositing an item with his friend. The pasuk uses the word lishmar. Right? Lishmar. Here, take it and watch it. So then we say that the fellow is responsible to look after the item for which he took responsibility. But lishmar v'leila abed, only if he was asked to watch it, v'leila abed, as opposed to when he was taking it. Almanas la'abed, planning on destroying it. Meaning, here, take it and just do what you want. In that case, he doesn't take responsibility. Lishmar v'leila kroya, I asked you to watch it, but let's say I told you, here, take my beged and just tear it to shreds. He's not responsible. Lishmar v'leila chalak la'aniyim, or, this is an interesting case, here, take this money and give it out to poor people. So let's say the fellow took it and he wasn't careful and got lost. He's not liable because, as Rashi explains, who's going to come claim this money? Which ani is a rightful owner of this money? Nobody. Right? I can turn to any ani that comes and say, well, it wasn't meant for you, it was meant for your friend. So basically, he doesn't have to be accountable to anybody. Bottom line is, if the deposit was not intended for shmira, I didn't task you with looking after it, with watching it, then you're not chayiv. So why the Mishnah? Shabir is kadi kras ksusi, here, tear my garment, you're chayiv. Why? What's the difference? Amr Afuna, big difference, like kasha. Teretz is, ha da asili yadei, ha da le asili yadei. Now Mishnah, this fellow never took possession of my garment. Garment sitting on the table. Here, tear it. I let you tear it. Just the opposite. In the Mishnah, what happened was, I gave you the garment, asli yadei, and then he tore it. So once he has it in his hands, he's responsible for it. Whereas in the Brisa, he never took it. Here, here's my thing. Here, do what you want with it. He never actually picked it up and took responsibility. So in that case, he's not responsible. So according to Rav Huna, once he takes possession, he's responsible, but otherwise he doesn't have responsibility. Amalei Rabbah, but the Brisa, which focuses on the word lishmar, sounds like he actually has it, because that's the pasuk. Chiyiten, he gave it to me already. The asli yadei mashma, it sounds like he has it in his hands, and still, if the plan was not to watch it, he's not responsible. Elama Rabbah, hava asli yadei. In both cases, he actually took possession. Right, the safekeeper took possession of this deposit item. So what's the answer? It depends on the mindset. It depends what he had in mind when he took it initially. In the Mishnah, he took it to guard it. And then he turned around and says, you know what? The owner says, you can destroy it, I don't care. Too late, because he took responsibility for it. So unless he clearly exempted him, he doesn't have a license to destroy it. Whereas in the Brisa, initially when he took possession, when he took the item, he was told, listen, take it, do what you want with it. So his initial taking possession of the item was with this mindset, with this lack of commitment, so he's put. How arnica that stuck at the asl pumbedisa? There was a pouch, a wallet with stucco money, arrived in the town of Pumbedisa, and was meant to be distributed amongst the poor people, and each ani would get his allotment. Afka to Rabbi Yosef, who was a Gabbai Tzedakah, he deposited Gabayahu Gavra with his fellow. Pashaba, his fellow was careless. Asur gan v'ganvua, robbers came and stole it. Chayvi Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef sent his fellow the bill. He's responsible. Amar Abaye, what do you mean? Vatani lishma v'lo l'chalak la'aniyim. The Brisa says that if a person receives a deposit which was meant for aniyim, nobody can hold him accountable. There's no clear litigant here. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. Amar Leisa, he says here it's different. Aniyah pumbedisa mekatz kitzlu. The local aniyim in our town, they have a weekly, allotment that they get. So it changes the whole equation. They're considered like owners. Because this money that he received, that he was holding for the aniyim, was sort of already earmarked. It was a designated amount per ani. And therefore, v'lishmoihu, it's as though he took it with full responsibility, with full achrayas to watch it, as per the instructions of the owner. Who's the owner? The aniyim, who are expecting this money as per their allotment. Hadran lacha chayv. Okay, let's just summarize this DAF. We spoke about rubbing shoulders with a person with good mazel. It can rub off on you. Being careful about turning to Hashem, requesting oynish for your opponent. One has to be careful about that. The greatness of being nirdaf, of being on the receiving end of a roidev, of a persecutor, and we have the halach of the difference between personal injury and financial loss, where we say personal injury is more difficult to be meichel than just financials. We spoke about a shomer when and when he's not responsible. Okay, we're beginning a brand new perek Hagos L'Eitzim. Says the Mishnah, Hagos L'Eitzim. This Mishnah and the perek following is based very much on the halacha of shinui. So if you recall that back in DAF Samach Vav, the Gemara tells us based on the pasuk v'hishavas hagzela shur gazal, that the item that was stolen must retain its form, its property, its tzura, in order for the gazal to have to actually return that item. Meaning, if the item was transformed, dramatically transformed, it went through a shinui, then the gazlan is kind of the item b'shinui. It sort of becomes his, and although he has to compensate, the victim of the robbery, but it's enough that he does it with money. He doesn't have to actually look for the actual item. That's called kinyan shinui. Here come some examples of this halach. A fellow steals lumber, wood, forms it into kelim, into utensils. That's a real dramatic shinui, right? Or tzemer, he steals wool, ba'asan begadim, turns them into begadim, into garments. In both cases, mishalem kishas hagzela. So although now the item was dramatically improved, from raw wood to kalim, from raw wool to begadim, he's only responsible as per the value of the raw material at the time of the gezela, because he was kind of the item through the shina. Gazal poramu beres v'yolda. In this case, in the following two cases, it's going to work against the ganav. He stole a pregnant cow, v'yolda, and it gave birth under his watch. Rachel to una. He stole a sheep carrying a heavy load of wool. The Gazazan, he shared it. Mishalam me paro hemedes leilid. How much does he pay? Former value, which is greater than current value, or current value. He pays me paro hemedes leilid, the value of the paro before giving birth, which is greater than now. But me rachel hemedes legados. the value of a Rachel pre-shearing. So in this case, it works against him. He's paying Geshas Agzela, which is a higher amount. What if the whole thing happened under his watch? Gozel Para, he stole a cow which was not expecting. Then the animal became uberis under his watch and then gave birth. He took a barren sheep and then she grew wool under the ganav's watch and then he took off the wool. In this case, he won't lose anything. He goes back to the value at the time of the Gzela, Zaklal, in line with the following rule, Kol Gazlanim. How do they pay? Mishalmi, they pay Geshas Agzela based on the value at the time of the incident. Amri, here comes the question. Mishnah says, Eitzim Asan Kalim. He took wood, turned it into Kalim. Only in that situation do we say it's a proper Shinoi, and Shinoi is Koin. Because he actually, drastically, significantly transformed. He converted Eitzim, raw material, into Kalim. By, shaping it, sanding it, and cutting. Shifan Loi. Apparently, it's only a slight change. Shifan, he just, sanded it, smoothed it. That's not really called a proper shinoi. That's what it sounds like from the Mishnah. Or in the case of the wool. Only Tzemer, he took raw wool of Asan Begadim and actually formed it into Begadim. That's called a shinoi. Yeah. Libna Loi, but let's say he just cleaned it. He did libun on the Tzemer. That's not called a proper shinoi. V'ramini, we have a kasha from Rabbi Brisa. Gozel Eitzim B'shifan. He took wood and he just sanded it. Avanim v'sisisan. Stones which were just, smoothed out. Tzemer v'libnon. Wool that was just cleaned. Pishtam neikeyu. Flax which was also, cleaned from its mishal k'shas agzela. These have now undergone a shinoi. He only pays back based on the previous value before he did the shinoi. Clearly, even these slight changes constitute a shinoi. Amar Abaye. You're right, there are two different types of shinoi. Tana de dank tani shinoi de rabbanon de hadra. V'kol shken shinoi de raisa. In our Mishnah, we're speaking about a slight shinoi de rabbanon. The hadra that could just be reverted back to its original state. The koshken shinoi de raisa. And certainly, if it was a real drastic shinoi de raisa, which is permanent, that of course triggers this halacha. But the case of the Mishnah actually is speaking about a lesser shinoi. How? Eitzim means Eitzim Basan Kalim. He took the Eitzim and turned into Kalim. We don't mean, as per what you thought, that he actually, cut them and shaped them. No. It was a very minimal shinoi. Eitzim Meshupan. He had, smooth pieces of wood. Umayninu Nisarim. He just had, pieces of wood. The shinoi de hada lebriyasahu, which is a shinoi, right? When he takes these, smooth, finished pieces of wood and just forms it into kelim, that's something that can just be reverted back to its original state. The boy, because if he wants mishlu, he can just undo the kli, take it apart. The boy mishlu, tzemer basam begadim. Likewise, in the second case, it was only a slight shinoi de rabbanon, but tzemer tavo, it was already spun. Threads. It wasn't raw material, it was really spun wool, which he turned into a beged, which he sort of wove into a beged, but that's something that's just temporary. Technically, you could just bring it back to its former state, right? The shinu de hadal briyasahu. The Abaye, because he wants sasala, he can undo the beged. So actually, Abaye turns the table around. The Mishnah is not speaking about a dramatic change, a very slight change. It was sort of finished raw material, which he just, sort of reformed, reshaped, but it can just be reverted back to its original state. And even there, we say it's called a shinoi. It's called a shinoi with a rabbanon. And the Gemara later on Daf Tzadik Daled explains, why do the Chachamim allow this to sort of change the equation? Why does he not have to pay according to its current value, rather according to its former value? It's based on Takanas HaShavim. We want to make it more, we want to encourage people to do teshuvah, make it less difficult. So once you've invested this effort, made this shinoi, we let you keep it. That's the case of the Mishnah. And of course, if it was a irreversible shinoi deraisa, such as sanding down raw material, spinning raw wool into thread, of course, that shinoi would stick. V'tana bro shinoi deraisa tani, v'shinoi rabban like tani. Continues Abaye, well, the second brisa that discussed Gazel Eitzim B'Shifan, Anavim B'Sisan, Avanim B'Sisan, that's a Shinoi Deraisa. That's a real irreversible Shinoi. And, the brisa chose to discuss that. But there really is no contradiction between the Mishnah and the brisa, they're just discussing different things. Okay. Shinoi Deraisa Tani, Shinoi Rabban like Tani. Rav Ashi Amar, he disagrees. He says, our Mishnah is not discussing reversible shinois, temporary shinois. Tana did that. Rav Ashi Amar Tana dan namishin deraisa Tani. Our Mishnah as well discusses a shinoi deraisa, irreversible conversions. Eitzim vasan kelim, buchani, dainu shifan. When the Mishnah spoke about taking eitzim and turning them to kelim, what type of kli? Buchani. The mortar, the one that you used to crush the spices or whatever, right? The hainu shifa. So for that, it's enough to just take a piece of wood and sand it down and smooth it. That's the finishing. You don't have to actually engrave and shape it and cut, right? So that's exactly what the Mishnah spoke about. Eitzim that were turned into kelim, using a very, very minimal, process here, just smoothing it down to size. That's enough, and that results in an irreversible, permanent shinoi deraisa. Likewise, when the Mishnah spoke about tzaran v'asan begodim, he took wool and turned it into beged. We're speaking about a beged which does not require libun. Doesn't require cleansing and cleaning of the raw material. Namti is sort of pressed, right? Pressed wool. These are examples of irreversible, permanent changes. So that's Rav Ashi's approach to this sugya. We had a kasha, right? What was a kasha? Let's go back to the beginning of the Gemara. We had a dik. The Mishnah spoke about eitzim that were turned into kelim. So we said, hold it. Why do we have to go that far? Just speak about eitzim which were smooth and finished. That's also a shinoi. So Rav Ashi comes and says, look, you're right. That's exactly what the Mishnah is speaking about. He took a piece of wood, finished it, used it as a mortar. Whereas Abaye had a different approach. He says that we started off speaking about eitzim which were already meshupin, already smooth, and he took a bunch of that and sort of like formed it into a kli, and that could be undone. That's a shinoi. The Rabbanon, Rashi says no. It was a permanent shinoi. Eitzim asan kelim means he actually reshaped it, he formed it, he smoothed it, whatever. That's called a shinoi deraisa, and certainly he's kaina. So according to Rav Ashi, there's no discussion of shinoi derabanan, and perhaps it's not going to be kaina, unless it's a permanent, irreversible shinoi. Okay, now on the topic of libun, because the Brisa earlier said that semer v'libnon, taking wool and being malabin it and cleansing it, and there was a whole process. They would bake it until it really gets its whiteness. That's called a shinoi. We consider the item, the raw material, to have undergone a shinoi, which generates the kinyan of the ganav, right? V'libun mi have a shinoi. Is that considered a serious enough transformation in material? V'ramin hui, we have a kasha on the topic of Reishis Hagez. Farmer is meant to give a bit of his first wool, his first shearings to the kohen, right? Halacha is that if he didn't get a chance to do so until he processed it, Ramini, by the time he got around to giving it to the kohen, he already dyed it, potter. He doesn't have to give it because he's kinda with shinei. But if he just cleansed it without coloring it, he has to give it to the kohen. That's not called a shinei. So you see, libun is not a serious enough change. Amar Abaye kasha. You're right. It depends on the opinions. Ha Rabbi Shimon, ha Rabbanan. Rabbi Shimon holds that libun is not a shinui. Rabbi Shimon holds libun is a shinui. Rabbanan disagree. The Sanya, we have a bryce which reflects these shites. Gazazai tavai va'argai eimet starif. So Rashi explains, based on the Gemara and Chulin, Rishis, I guess, is only applicable when he has shearings from 5 recheles, from 5 sheep. So he shears one, another, until he gets 5, and then it triggers the mitzvah of Rishis Hagez. So let's say he shared one of his animals, then Gazazai, then Tavai va'argai, he shared Gazai, then he went and processed it. He spun it, he wove it. So that wool is sort of no longer raw material. It's already turned into a baguette. Ein mitzdaref. So the other shearings will not combine. You can't combine it. It's gone. So it's not going to trigger the chiv of Reish Zagez. Ein mitzdaref. Because that's a real transformation. But livnoi, let's say you just did libun, Reb Shimon ein mitzdaref here as well. You can no longer combine it with the other ones because it's been processed. According to Reb Shimon, libun is considered a serious processing. You can still bring back the other wool and combine it with the rest. Libun is not a serious enough transformation. So clearly it's machlekes how to treat libun. Rava Amar, Hava Reb Shimon. No, both the Mishnah and the Brayos are both Reb Shimon. So what about the status of libun? It depends how dramatic the libun was, how professional it was. The naptzin a putzi. If he just sort of combed it with his fingers, with his hands, a manual libun, that's not called a shinui. But the other brayso, speaking the Sarkis Ruki, used equipment, used a comb, so that cleansing process creates a shinui. That's a real, visible change, and that's a shinui. Rav Chia bar Abba Omar, he has another way to explain the difference. We have 2 different types of processes for shinui. For libun, hada chavre chivuri. If he cleansed the wool via ordinary washing, that's not called a shinui. But the Brayso, which says that it is a shinui, the kabri kabriya, he put the raw material in a basket beneath which they burn some sulfur, and that sort of whitens it. That's a real permanent, serious professional process, and that's called a shinui. Asks the Gemara, hold on, how could you say according to Reb Shimon, libun is a shinui? Look, we find a case where Reb Shimon says dyeing, coloring the raw material is not called a shinui. Libun have a shinui, just cleaning it as a shinui. The Sani, we have a brayso, gazaz rishon tzvoi. So the farmer, again, he shared one of his sheep, dyed it, went to the next one, etc., etc. Rishon tzvoi, or as he was sharing it, he went quickly and he spun that wool before he got to the next animal, rishon v'aragoy, or he wove them. Ein mitzdaref, you can't combine the animals for a total of 5, which triggers the Reish Hagez. He's potter. Rabbi Shimon quotes Rabbi Shimon, tzvai mitzdaref. Dyeing, that's not called a serious enough transformation. You can still combine all the raw material together. So clearly, according to Rabbi Shimon, tzvia, which is a visible change, dyeing, changing colors, that's not called a shinui. Of course, libun should not be considered. Abaye, actually, there are 2 opinions within Reb Shimon. Like Hashi, Rabbanan. I'll leave the Reb Shimon. The first brayso says the Rabbanan, in their opinion of Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon Yehuda leave Reb Shimon. Whereas the second brayso, that it's not considered a transformation, it's not called a shinui. That's Reb Shimon Yehuda's opinion of Reb Shimon. So we have 2 versions of Reb Shimon. Whether libun and tzvia is considered a shinui, whether or not. Rava Amar the Olam lepliga le Rabbanan. Lepliga Rabbanan le Reb Shimon Yehuda. No, there's no two difference of opinion in Reb Shimon. Rabbanan nach chaylik. Don't disagree with Reb Shimon Yehuda regarding Reb Shimon. Everybody holds that libun is called a shinoi. Cleansing it, whitening it, that's a shinoi. So why is dyeing different? Vishani, it's seva. You know why dyeing is different? Hayil v'yachal aviroi. Adeit safin, some sort of a detergent, which removes a paint remover. So painting, dyeing is not called a shinoi, but libun is something permanent that cannot be revoked. Now, v'chiktani has lehispik litnei le'achesavei pater. Regarding that Mishnah we said before, that by the time he got around to giving it, he dyed it, he's pater. Apparently that's called a shinoi. V'kimna k'divrei HaKoil, and we said even Reb Shimon would agree to that. Why? I thought, paint is not considered permanent. It says Rava, I'll tell you how. That's a permanent dye, a different type. Now your conventional paint, b'kala ilan, some sort of paint which comes off a tree, which looks bluish. They used to use it to trick people into thinking that it was the tcheles, which was very expensive. So that's something that just stays. Le'ovar, you can't remove it with the paint remover. So that's a permanent shinoi. Everybody agrees in that case it's called a shinoi. Amar Abaye, you should know, we have a whole long list of tanoim that don't really reckon with shinoi. As long as the raw material is still there, its status remains intact, despite its superficial, visible, change. Amar Abaye, Reb Shimon Yehuda, that's number one. Ubei Shammai, number two. Reb Lezer ben Yaakov, Reb Shimon Lezer, Rabbi Shmuel, Kulu, Sfir Lahu, Shinui b'mkami Oymed. All these hold that even when the item took on a new form, if the raw material is the same, its status remains intact. Reb Shimon Yehuda, Hadamar, we said before, even through dyeing, through changing color, does not change the halach. Bei Shammai, where do we find Bei Shammai? Ma'i, the Sanya. Nasan lo chitin be'esnana. So a person who interacted immorally with a woman, gave her weed as a gift, that's called the esnan. You cannot use it for a carbon on the mizbeach. What if it on some sort of transformation? You gave her the chitin, v'as an, or v'asas an, she turned it into seilus, into flour. Zeisim was on shemen, olives turned into oil, another was in yain, grapes into wine. We have a machlekes. Whether it's aser for a carbon or not. Tani chada aser, tani dech mutter. One brayso says it's aser, one says it's mutter, because it's no longer the original item. Vam Rav Yosef, he quotes like this: Tani guriyan dimi is parak. So guriyan from this place of Spurk explained that it's machlekes tanaim b'shamrai eisrin b'sil matir. According to Beishamai, the item, even though it went through this transformation, still maintains its original disqualification from carbon. But still say it's mutter, and it's based on psukim. My time with the Beishamai. Why Beishamai say it maintains its isser? Amakra gam shneim. The pasuk there uses the word gam. L'rabi shinuyim. Even though it went through some sort of transformation, it maintains its status. B'sil amakra heim v'lo shinuyim. No, the pasuk says the word heim only the way it is originally. But if any shinui took place, it's no longer labeled as an esnan. Ubeishami yiksiv heim. What do Ubeishami do with the word heim, which sounds like it remains intact? Hamibayli heim labeled the seyim. Only the original animal given as a gift, but not its offspring. That's a brand new entity. That doesn't have the Isra of Esnan. Basilo, Tartim, Haras, no. So let's say, you can learn both cases from the same pasuk. The word Haim tells you, Haim B'Leshini Yeyim. Haim B'Leshini the same, just like as the offspring is considered new entities. Likewise, if the item underwent sort of through a material change, wheat into flour, etc., it's mutter. Ubesil lam yaksiv gam. What did Besil do with the word gam, which sounds like it remains intact? Gam Besil kashi. You're right. We have no application for that word. And then the Gemara continues with several more, the Tanaim, which were on Abaye's list, which seem to go with on the same route and the same track, that shinoi does not change the status, halachic status of the material. Okay, so bottom line is, we have the Mishnah that Aganim is kind of a shinoi. We have shini deiraisa, we have shini derabbanon. We have a discussion regarding whether or not libun is called a shinoi. We have different approaches, different types of libun, and also regarding whether tzviya is called a shinoi. And again, we discussed different types of tzviya. And Abaye comes up with a list of many Tanaim who hold shinoi b'mkaimai aymed. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.